Alright dudes, welcome back. Picked up this hard rubbish fine Kona Scab. It's probably pretty munted, but let's take a look at it and see what we can do. So starting from the top, we got these taped up grips here. I think these are old Kona grips actually from the logo, but taped up, must have been pretty sticky. Got some Tektro levers here and some 8-speed Shimano shifters. Got this cool Sonic stem, pretty sick, old school upright stem or top load stem. On the top here we got the original Kona stem cap with the K9 dog. Bike that actually gave me one with 3 dogs without the URL there, but yeah, pretty cool. Got a little bell, another 3x shifter, and then the same grip and lever on this side. Same Tektro matching levers. Coming down here we got a A-head headset, SX1, manufactured by FPD Fox, but it's actually Cane Creek. You can see the Cane Creek logo right there. Cool little logo on the front. Got these Marzuki's Dirt Jam Pro. Got some Avid 5s there, Avid brakes, Avid disc brakes. Here's the shock, so I'm just pressing it down by one hand. So I don't know if they're done too. Got some busted rails there. Kona Out of Bounds OB. Scab logo, a lot of rust on top. Rust here. Kona logo on the side, pretty beat up. Got a Livio front mech on the front. Got the original Kona pedals, which is pretty cool. And then original Kona bash guard. I have one of these on my other Kona. Even got the K9 logo on there as well, up top and bottom. This is Trivati Isis Drive Hasselfeld crank. Pretty heavy duty, pretty heavy too. And got the Livio 9-speed on the back. Maybe it's 8-speed. And then the same Avid BBDB. On the rear, got this loose original seat collar on here. I think this used to be quick release, but yeah, that's not usually a good sign when it's loose like that. Usually means it's pretty stuck. And it's looks like it's slammed all the way in there, so hopefully the seat post isn't too long. We can maybe spray some stuff and twist it off. But yeah, we'll see how we go with that. And then we got the Kona saddle here, SDG saddle, pretty sick shape I think. I think the cover's pretty ripped up, so not too much you can do about that. And yeah, here you got an old Vic mountain bike sticker, old school. Got the Kona XXX chromo frame or steel, so yeah, super solid, but yeah, you can see it's pretty scratched up there. And then yeah, let's see what we can do with the seat post, and even a little bug there. Navajo bottle cage. But yeah, that's basically it. Pretty rough. I think the first thing I'm going to do is try to get that seat post out, and that will determine a lot of things. If not, a nice set of parts. And yeah, see how we go. So yeah, first up, just going to spray with a little penetrating oil. Sometimes you get lucky and you can spray some penetrating oil and it kind of loosens. However, this wasn't the case with this one. It was like super stuck on there. I tried using the seat to get a little bit of leverage just to kind of try to move it. But yeah, it seems like I'm going to have to give this one a little bit of a soak. So while that's soaking, I'm just going to take everything else off the bike. Or try to at least. And yeah, you might wonder why this bike has no wheels with it. It's because it's a funny story actually. This was put out as hard rubbish, and when I got there was already a dude there, and he took one of the wheels off the back, but one of the front wheel was still on there and he was trying to get it off. So yeah, at that point I was ready to just leave, but I was like, oh, maybe I can help this dude take off the wheel at least. And then yeah, when I was talking to him, turns out he just wanted the wheels, and I said, oh, that's perfect because I can take the frame. But yeah, I was trying to take off the wheel, and it turns out that the quick release the little nut on the end of the skewer, it was rusted onto the skewer and we couldn't get it off. So I tried to, use my supreme grip with my fingers, couldn't get it off. Got a little towel to wrap it around the bolt, see if I can get a little bit more grip. Wouldn't come off. Sweating bullets at this point. It was pretty hot out, and I would decide I probably have to call it quits. Just let him take the whole thing. He even asked me if I lived close, so we could take it to his house and then work on it at his house. But yeah, he lived pretty far, so at that point I was just basically gonna abandon it. And then as I was walking back to my car, there was some guy out working on his driveway, and I usually don't ask people for stuff, but at this point I was so far out, I was like super invested. I asked him if he had any pliers spare that I could use, and he actually said yes. So yeah, he went and got them. I was super stoked. He gave me the pliers, and I thought for sure with the pliers I could just grip the bolt on the end, the nut on the end of the quick release, and then just twist it off. So I said, yeah, I'll be 2 minutes, I'll give them right back to you. So I went back to the bike and the dude was still there, and I said, I got some pliers, I can get the wheel off. And I started putting the plier on the nut itself and then started cranking it Hulk style. And I was trying and it wouldn't come off for some reason. And I realized that after a while that the plastic on the nut was rotating while the metal inner was staying still. So yeah, you can imagine you got these two guys at the front of someone's house trying to get this wheel off, like cranking it for a while. Even the dude said that was working on the bike, he said, oh, the people inside probably think we're, just these two idiots trying to get this wheel off outside. And yeah, it was pretty funny. And the thing that was hard to kind of give up was because we were both so close. If we cranked down just hard enough on the plastic should hold the metal on the inside, and we just tried cranking and cranking. And it did loosen a tiny bit, but it wasn't loose enough to take the wheel out, but it was so close. So the wheel was loose in there at this point, but there's a little kind of notch on the fork where it stops a quick release from getting out. So we were so close, so we decided to see if we can just yank it out. And at this point, the end of the skewer, the nut, was already completely demolished by the pliers because of the plastic of how hard we were gripping on, so there's no loss there. So we were both standing over the frame, stepping on the frame. The bike was upside down at this point, and we both hung on to the wheel, and we both yanked up at the same time, and the wheel popped out. Yeah, we're both super stoked. Can't believe it finally came out. Shook his hand. I went back and gave the pliers back to the dude. Told him I was sorry for taking such a long time. Definitely more than 2 minutes. And yeah, I chucked the frame in my car and we're all good. So yeah, shout out to the other dude. Shout out to the pliers dude. This wouldn't have happened if you guys didn't help. Cheers. So yeah, you can see here I'm struggling with the bottom bracket here. It would not turn, so I decided not to waste any time and just break out my breaker bar from my bike stand, put it on and try turning it. It seemed like everything with this bike has been hard to get off at the moment, starting from even just getting the frame. So yeah, quite funny. This bike kind of has its own personality. It's kind of like a horse that doesn't want to be tamed. So yeah, I clamped it on with a quick release skewer and some bolts and washers and a flat piece of metal. And this way I could really crank on it, and it started turning, which I was stoked about. I had to put tons of pressure on, and even then it was still hard to get off. Every turn was super hard. But yeah, eventually with a bit of penetrating oil and WD-40, it came out. But yeah, it took a while. Eventually I was able to pull it off by hand. And you can see here, crazy rusted on the inside. That's probably why it wasn't coming out. Super rusted in there. So yeah, just give a quick spray in there for now, just to blow all the other stuff out and hopefully let it soak for a bit in there. And then with the BB out, I was able to access this side of the cup, and yeah, that came out with the breaker bar too. Alright, just got it upside down here, and just gonna spray penetrating oil inside that hole. Hopefully it drips on the post, and yeah, give it a soak, and then take all the other parts off, and then give it a twist hopefully. Oh, I also noticed there's a little hole there. Maybe I'll spray some penetrating oil in there too. So yeah, just spraying in all the holes, just trying to soak it as much as I can. You can see there's a couple holes in the bottom bracket here, and then there's a hole near the seat tube, or the top of the seat. And then while that's soaking upside down, I will just just take off these other brakes, just cutting the cables at this point. Don't forget to put those little rubber things back on, or put the bolts back on after you unscrew it. That's a quick tip from me. So yeah, you don't lose any of that stuff. Here, just cutting the rest of the cables. These cables are toast, so I just cut them and just chuck them out. And then here, getting rid of these grippy grips. You can see how windy it was. It's crazy windy. It gets crazy windy on the balcony sometimes. But yeah, just give it a slight cut. You can see no marks on the bars. You just be careful, and you don't have to cut it all the way on the grip. Just cut it enough, and it'll come off. Little spider action there. It's always scary when a spider pops out when you're working on bikes and they're real close to your hands. Always gives me a little scare. And then here, this grip was crazy. You can see why the tape was on. It was so sticky, and every time I try to rip some off, it would just kind of like peel off like it was like gum or something. But eventually, yeah, just a little bit of razor blade work ended up coming off, so that was good. Pretty gross. Taking off these levers and the bell. The bell I'm always scared of, because one time there was like a redback spider in one of the bells on one of my old videos. So I always check in there. That's like a great home for a spider, so just be careful. Good home for there, bad for us. But yeah, nothing in there this time. And then here, taking off the stem cap. This unscrewed pretty easy. You can see there's another like cocoon bug in there. I was like, it was crazy. Yeah, that gave me a scare too. It seemed like this bike was being left out for ages, and there was like a bug in or remnants of a bug in every like little crevice. But yeah, I was quite lucky that it's already been a long time. So this is the reason why I always kind of like spray the whole frame down with insect repellent or spray before you work on it. Saves you a few jumps here and there. Here, taking off this exonic stem. These bolts are well and tight, but they came off with a little bit of force. And yeah, just unscrew it in a Z pattern or X pattern. You can see more little bug remnants. And then screw that back on so don't lose it, or lose any of the bolts. And then this slid off pretty easy. You can see the steerer was pretty short as well. And then yeah, just taking off the fork now. I'm definitely going to replace these forks. I think these forks were pretty done, and I think they're pretty heavy too. So set those aside. And then here, taking off the headset. See these little caps. It's like a tension plastic thing, and then the cover, and then the ball bearings. But the ball bearings inside actually didn't look too bad. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But here, back onto the frame, back onto the stuck seat post, just spraying stuff in there. Alright, so I got basically everything off. Got the frame upside down there. Got the forks out. Basically what I did was I just sprayed penetrating oil in that tube and in these other holes here. I don't know if these other holes work, but I'm gonna give it a soak for a little bit and then try to get the seat posts out. Alright, this is day one, and It's soaked overnight, so I thought maybe I could just twist it a little bit and it should kind of free up. And I was working on this old seat. I decided to take it off because I might want to fix it up. So I was thinking maybe looking at this seat collar here, I can crack it open a little bit and maybe spray penetrating oil in there, and that will loosen the seat post. So I just got a screwdriver in there, try to open a little bit, spray penetrating oil in there, and then with the seat I put this old plastic seat on, an SE seat, hoping I can get a little bit of leverage that way. The last time I had to do this was I took it to Bikes Please and they put it in a vise and they turned it using the frame. So this is just the first day, so I was thinking, oh, maybe I can just try to twist it off myself, try to mimic that somehow on the stand or by standing on the seat. But yeah, didn't really move at all. You can see me kind of struggling here, didn't even move one bit. I put a lot of force into it, hoping that, you know, I didn't like shear the frame or anything. But yeah, it wasn't going anywhere. So I decided to take the seat off and maybe I can clamp it down with the wrench and try to just turn it that way. Pulled out the breaker bar and started turning it. I actually did this before and it's worked on certain poles before, but yeah, you can see here. You can see there I was basically leaning back with all my weight while stepping on the frame. And yeah, once it cracked, I was so stoked that it started moving, because I knew if I moved it a little bit that I would be able to get it out. So yeah, super stoked that I finally got it to move, and I started twisting it off all the way around. But then upon closer inspection, I realized it was just the top section of the seat post that was moving. So yeah, I ran into this issue before, and yeah, that was a pain. I decided just to soak it a little bit more, penetrating oil, WD-40, and yeah, just had to leave it for this day. It was just too stressful. Alright, so I have a little dilemma here. The top bit is kind of coming off. Pipe wrench that I have, it's too big, so I'm either going to have to hacksaw the top bit off or just pull it off. At this point I was thinking, I should have just taken it to the bike shop, put it in a vise, but to make myself feel better I thought that they just would have ran to the same issue of twisting it off. Yeah, but never know. But yeah, you could see there was like little bugs in the seat post. At least now with that off I was able to get the seat collar off, and that ended up popping off pretty easy. So the next thing to do was try to clamp on the pipe that was still available and just try to twist it somehow. I used this pipe wrench, it's pretty big, but yeah, it didn't seem like it was gripping enough. So the problem is it keeps kind of slipping, so I gotta figure a better way to secure it. Basically I just spray some penetrating oil in there and just try to use the clamp again. I was thinking maybe I wasn't using the clamp properly. Try using the breaker bar as well, try to get more leverage. And this whole time I was thinking, why did this seat post have to be slammed so much in there? I think if it was like out from the frame a bit, it would be a bit easier. Ended up putting the wrench in my stand and then tried turning it that way as well. But yeah, unfortunately it was still slipping. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is cut straight down this line here, and then cut a line down the opposite side, and then just try to fold it like that and collapse it. That way I'll be able to get a gap in there, spray some oil, or maybe it'll rip out. I don't know, it's pretty stuck at the point. A few people might say I busted a hacksaw out a little bit too early, but yeah, I feel like there was no way to get enough grip on it to pull it out. So it was the only option left at this point, I think. Alright, here it is. I'm going to try a little bit by hand, see how it goes on the inside before I fold it. So yeah, I thought that if I could just cut enough of it and collapse it, it will break apart free from the seat posts. So I just held a hacksaw. I used an old tube just to wrap it up and just hacksaw away as kind of deep as I could, and then just hoping that I squeeze it, it will just kind of like break free. So here you can see I'm trying to squeeze it with the pliers or the clamp or whatever, and I think it moved the top section, like freed it up away from the seat tube, but yeah, it didn't seem like it was doing that much. So I decided to put it in the clamp again to try and twist it off. Alright, so it's kind of opened up the sides a little bit. Now that it's opened up the sides a bit, I thought great, I can just spray penetrating oil in there and it will soak down all the way through and I'll be just able to twist it off. And then here you can see me battling with it again, used pipe wrench, used a hacksaw, kept cutting it. Yeah, this day was a super mission. Trying to twist it again, more penetrating oil. And then at the end of this day, I decided just to soak it overnight. Alright, so today is another day and we're going to try to get this again. You can see I did another cut, started doing another cut yesterday. But I think what I need to do is really saw more the tube all the way down. I feel like I'm only probably getting about this much, maybe, if even that, when the tube is probably goes down to like there, I think. So yeah, let's see how we go. At this point I was super invested in getting the seat post out. I don't know if you guys ever had that where you start something, but yeah, you definitely want to finish it. And since I tried so hard already to do it, I didn't want it to beat me. I just I just wanted to get it out. So yeah, I thought the only option now was really just to hacksaw out enough where I can maybe just twist it off. I didn't film all the footage, of course, of me hacksawing. It's pretty boring, but yeah, you can see me going ham at it. It's not a really good way to hold it. I found the best way was to put it on a bench and then just lay it down and hacksaw down as best you can. So yeah, after sawing it for a long while, I was thinking, oh, maybe I can try collapsing it again. But yeah. So I was sawing away and I was just wondering how deep this seat post is. So I got this spoke, and once it hooks on the end of the seat post, that's how long it is. So yeah, it hooks on about here. That's one long seat post. So yeah, no wonder it's stuck, because it's seized all the way here. So what I'm going to do is just keep going at it, and I might not be able to get all of it out, but at least I'll be able to get enough out to put a post in there, I'm hoping. You can also see this is how long it is in comparison to the hacksaw blade. So it's basically a hacksaw blade length, but you know, I'm holding it a few centimeters from the end, so maybe I have to make a tool for this. Alright, little update here. So I end up cutting 4 slots, basically as deep as I could go, and I'm going to try to bend it in a bit just so I can get more penetrating oil in there and see what happens. So yeah, I started clamping it down, hoping it would kind of just break free. And you can see I used a pipe wrench, I used a little hand clamp, used pliers. But because I've worked so much on it already, I've worn away so much of the metal that these little tabs start to break off. And yeah, all of them ended up breaking off by me, you know, trying to put on pliers and try and twist it off. It ended up just snapping. Another thing that I wanted to try was putting a stem in there and try to grip it in. And then you tighten up the quill stem and then hopefully twist it to get it off. But yeah, same thing again, a lot of effort for little to no movement. And then at this point I was like, I gotta hacksaw it out. So I had this little piece of metal bar or metal flat piece that I could just put 2 screws in and put the hacksaw blade in. And then this made it way stiffer where I can put it inside a tube and start hacksawing away. I was pretty stoked with this tool. It worked pretty well and let me go ham inside there. Alright, so here's a little update. The saw is pretty good, I think. See if I can show you guys. It's pretty hard to see in there. So yeah, it's pretty hard to see in there. You're probably seeing what I'm seeing. So yeah, I just need to do it as far as I can now that I got the extender until I can cut it all the way through as best I can before I start twisting it, because if I twist it without it only part way down, I don't think it's going to come out just because it's so stuck in there. So gonna keep sawing. This is what it looks on the inside. It's pretty hard to see, but you can see some progress. Alright, so I've been going at it for a while and I think I'm at a point where I can't go anymore, otherwise I'm going to start cutting up the seat tube. You can see here it's starting to go through to the seat tube already, and then I've done the same with the top. So yeah, I kept going at it. This is what you can see after a while of hacksawing. You can see how long the tube is actually. You can start to see the end. So I thought it was done, but looks like I can go in a bit more. And yeah, just keep going. It's past the bolt now. So it should at least, what I'm trying to do is put a little crease at least on the inside all the way through. So when I go to twist this, it'll twist on the crease and hopefully snap off. Alright, so I can feel the hacksaw blade go all the way and you keep pushing, it's the end. So I know I'm kind of at the full length of the pipe. I'm going to do this for a little bit and then repeat it on the top, and then hopefully after that it's ready to twist off. So I was watching a Dustin Klein video where he interviews road holes, and he basically said that if you have an aluminum seat post stuck in a steel frame, you can just melt it out because the melting point for aluminum is lower, and you can basically just melt it out in 20 minutes. But yeah, at this point I was too far invested and my stubbornness won't let me take it to a shop. Alright, we're back with another day. So this time I got another hacksaw blade. This is 18T, so a little bit rougher. It's the smallest they had, or the largest teeth they had. And then this one is, this old one is 24, I think. So hopefully this makes it a little bit faster, fresh blade. And yeah, just gonna keep cutting it out. And yeah, also started wearing a mask just because I think breathing all this stuff in is probably not good. So yeah, just started going ham at it. Again, trying to hacksaw it all the way through. One of the issues is putting enough pressure on the blade for when the seat post is really long. I ended up flipping the hacksaw blade on my tool, and that allowed me to put more pressure on the end of the blade. So yeah, the longer the thing is, the more pressure you can put on. And you can see here's the progress. I thought I was doing pretty good at this point. Been hacksawing for a while. You can see the groove in there. And then I decided I was like, oh, if I just put a screwdriver in and just hammer it down one side, it should kind of like collapse it. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. But instead you can see that it actually just kind of made a mess in there. The twisting it, I thought I could twist it and get my pliers in there and then twist it out. You can see it's separated from the seat tube. But the issue is once I did that was I could not get the hacksaw blade back in to start cutting it. And yeah, this just became a real mess. I ended up having to try to just move the pieces out of the way to try to keep hacksawing it. So I tried this for a little bit, a long while, just trying to get the blade in and trying to get the hacksaw in. And yeah, just kept doing that. Alright, we're back with another day yet again. So basically tapped it, it didn't snap, so I'm just sawing it down this way, and hopefully it saws enough to break it down, but see how we go. I got a screwdriver in there just to prop it up while I saw. At this point there was so much stuff or metal in the center that I just wanted to get it cut a piece out, so I'm just going to hacksawing down the side. Alright, so I pretty much cut that, so I'm going to try to use the screwdriver to wedge it out. Hopefully it snaps off or I can get more grip on it. So yeah, at this point my thought process was basically if I could just hammer down one side and just free it enough, it'll kind of snap in or snap off and free the post. So I kept hammering down with the screwdriver here, just down on one side, and you can see I was trying to twist it as well, but after a while you can see here I just ended up breaking the screwdriver. You can see the handle there, just broke it off because I was using too much force. Yeah, at this point I was kind of just like thinking, yeah, am I crazy for doing this? You ever get so invested in something that you just got to keep going? And yeah, this is where I'm at this point. I was just like, hey, like I need to get this out. So I just kept at it, trying to wedge out this piece. Alright, so at the point where I'm going to try soak it with white vinegar because it's a pain to cut out, and you can see that I might get a long flathead and try to just hammer it all the way down. I think one of the issues, like it would have came out if the post wasn't so long, but because it's super long, when I twist it, it's not really snapping where I want it to. But yeah, you can see that I've folded it almost over on itself already. Hopefully the vinegar will soften it and then maybe make it easier. Who knows? Alright, here we are. I made this little cork thing. Gonna plug it up. Alright, the cork is in. We're gonna pour the vinegar in. I don't know if it's gonna hold, but it seems alright. I pushed it in there quite a bit. So yeah, we'll see. Alright, here's the setup. I just put this underneath it in case it comes out. And then we're gonna be using this double strength. Hopefully it works. 8% acid. And yeah, let's go. Yeah, so apparently the vinegar eats away at the aluminum. So I just tried pouring it in here, but you can see that it's just coming out from the bottom. This is the reason why I couldn't plug the hole up from this side, because there's a hole right here and it just kind of goes straight into the top tube, which is not good. And then I can't plug it from the bottom because you can see that this hole, there's a little end of the seat tube is going in there, going straight up there, so it kind of blocks the cork. This hole is fine, but without blocking this hole, I can't soak it from the top either. So yeah, I ended up getting a long screwdriver, long flathead, super long, and tried to start jamming it down the side, tried to free it, used the pliers again, and didn't seem to be doing much, and then used the hacksaw, start cutting away. Alright, so after I couldn't work out how to plug the vinegar, I just started hacking away at it, and what I realized was that the blade kind of can go all the way around for some reason. I can put it here. It's probably gonna be hard to see. Alright, so I put the blade in and I realized it kind of goes all the way through. So I'm suspecting that this side on the left is kind of like all the way snapped. So I'm going to try to grab the middle here and so I can do something. So this side on the left, I think, is all the way through. And then I'm gonna try to hacksaw this side again, and hopefully I can get that huge piece out. So yeah, the problem with like sawing in a teeny hole is like you can't really see what you're doing, and that's basically the biggest problem. I decided for the end of this day, I just pour a little bit of vinegar in there. Hopefully it soaks a little bit, but who knows. Alright, here we are, back with another day. I feel pretty good today because I think one side snapped all the way through. Basically put a razor blade or hacksaw all the way and it kind of went through. So if I just do the same with the other side, I should be able to pull this whole chunk out. And yeah, let's get it. So yeah, you're probably sick of me watching me get this seat post out at this point. You can just imagine how sick I was of cutting, just hacksawing away. It basically felt like I was in jail and I was trying to hacksaw my way out of some bars with a file and just going day after day after day after day. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I just kept at it. I figure, it took me like 3 years to learn backside tails, skateboard trick. I may as well. This has only been, not even a week, so I may as well just keep going at it. Just keep hacksawing away, and yeah, eventually, the more metal that I get out of the seat post, it's a win. It's eventually like it should pop out the bits, but yeah, that was kind of my thought process. You can see how crazy it looks in there, like all the pieces, and just like can't get it out. I sprayed, penetrating oil in there. Yeah, just trying to cut enough slots. I cut so many slots in there just to try to get pieces out. And eventually, like, one piece came out after all of that. There was like tons of the dust stuff, the metal shavings. You can see heaps of that stuff. But yeah, once this metal piece came out, I was pretty stoked on it. I thought if I just keep cutting that more pieces would come out, and you can see here, yeah, even more pieces came out. So it's just at the point where yeah, I just had to keep cutting. You can see it's super twisted in there. Alright, we're back with yet another day. This is what it looks like in here. There's not much to do except just to keep sawing. I feel pretty good about the 2 bits falling out, so keep sawing away. Hopefully more bits fall out, and hopefully I can get the blade down a bit lower to hopefully set it free. Yeah, one of the issues with cutting it is finding out the best way to cut it where you're not getting super fatigued on your hands or arms or whatever. But yeah, you kind of just got to work that out for yourself. I end up finding that sometimes holding it like this worked well, and trying to twist the blade as you go up and down so it kind of cuts into the seat post. That seemed to work. But yeah, just kind of got to go at it. Alright, so this middle bit is kind of stopping me from doing anything, so I'm left with no choice but just to try to trim it down so my hacksaw blade can go in further. Alright, so I've been cutting this for a little bit and I've gotten pretty deep, and what I start to do is when I cut, I kind of bend it like that, so hopefully it will cut it straight off. But yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. Alright, cool. Well, I'm at that point where I've cut it as much as I can, and not sure what to do now. I was hoping it would snap off, but it didn't. But that bit there looks pretty small, I think. So I'm going to get the pliers and try to wiggle it off. Another issue is when it starts to snap off, you get less and less room for your pliers to go in. So I have to really get the screwdriver in there And what people don't tell you about aluminum, it's quite flexible, so it's not brittle where it will snap off. It just keeps bending. And yeah, that was super frustrating as well. I couldn't grip it, couldn't snap it, but cutting it, end up getting the pieces out. You can see another big chunk came out, so I was happy with that. Feels like now I'm actually making inroads to getting the seat posts out. You can see this is how it looks in there, like super twisted up, super mangled. It's like twisted upon itself for how much I put the kind of screwdriver in and try to twist it. At this point I had to be real careful not to twist it too much because I still wanted to get my hacksaw blade all the way in there. But you can see here just hacksawing away. Well, I was able to get it all the way in there. Alright, I'm able to stick my blade all the way in there, so feels like I'm cutting right on the end of the tube now. Hopefully going all the way in. And hoping to cut it all the way through. And that should help. Yeah, I think one of the main issues at this point, I wasn't cutting deep enough. So being able to get the hacksaw blade all the way in helped it a lot. You can see here's the progress. Again, it's hard to see on camera, but you can see the grooves. Seems like it goes all the way down and through the end bit, so I'll keep doing that. Alright, back again with another day. So I've been cutting it as much as I can down here. I don't want to try to bend it prematurely, but I'm just going to keep going until I feel like I'm cutting the sides and see how I go. Here I just want to show you the two positions of the tool. This is the original position. It's a little bit more closer together. And then here's the extended position where I just flipped it around. And this allowed me to get a little bit more leverage. Alright, so I think I went all the way through on this side. And just the way I've been testing it is basically just use the back of the razor blade. And then you just listen to the sound, see if the sound changes. But yeah, it seems pretty good all the way through. No bumps really. This is basically a guessing game, but it does feel like it went all the way through. And do the top side. Alright, this is what it sounds like when it's steel. And then when you hit aluminum, it's going to sound like this. So this is aluminum. It's kind of like a softer sound. And then this is a steel high-pitched sound. Alright, so this is the original side that I thought was already cut through. But there seems to be something blocking it at the moment. So just gotta try to get my blade in there and go again. Alright, so I'm up to a point where I've been sawing for a bit, but I can't really see what's going on. So I'm just going to flush it out with water so I can get a better sense of how close I am. Alright, here's what it's looking like. So the top one seems to be all the way through, and this bottom one, which is what I'm working on, so it seems like it's cut through on certain areas, but it's getting hung up here. So yeah, it seems like just a little bit more. Starting to tear it up here. And then because I sprayed it with water, I'm just going to spray it with some of this penetrating oil just to help displace the water a bit. Alright, I think I finally did it. Sides now. I'm going to tap it out inside through here and hopefully it peels off. So yes, just started tapping away at it, and I was super hopeful that it would kind of just tap out, and because I cut down to two sides, it would just kind of peel off.
But yeah, after hammering for a while, I couldn't understand why it was still stuck. It was like it was super glued in there or something like that. But yeah, this is what it looks like on the inside. I kept tapping away, but it felt like I wasn't going anywhere with the screwdriver.
Alright, so obviously it's not working because I put the screwdriver and tap on the side, and basically it's starting to put pressure on the tube on the outside. Can't really see it. Maybe you can see that crease above the N on Kona. That's where my screwdriver was. But yeah, it's pretty stuck in there. So I don't think this is gonna pop out, but what I'm gonna try is try to get this other side out, and maybe I can just put a short post in there. Yes, pretty stuck in there.
So yeah, at this point I was pretty disappointed that I wouldn't be able to get the whole seat post out, just because there's no way I could get it out without damaging any more of the seat tube. And then I'd have to run a short seat tube in there, and it would limit my options really. So what I needed to do was basically just wedge my screwdriver in there to get enough grip on the pliers, and I'd have to spend all that time hacksawing it out again on the other side. I figure what I'll do is try to get as much grip on my pliers and just see if I can just give it one last twist and pull like a Hail Mary. Hopefully that gets it out, but yeah, probably not going to happen.
Wow, can't believe I actually did it. I was just twisting it here, just hoping it would like snap off, but the whole thing twisted and it must have broke the seal. So yeah, you can see pretty gnarly, and then the cut, I wasn't even through all the way on this side. Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, got it out. That was a lot of days for sure. It's funny because I almost was going to just, like I said before, I was just going to cut off the end and maybe just get a little bit of post in there, but the whole thing came out. Shoo! Did it.
Yeah, I was basically in complete shock when it actually came out. I couldn't believe it came out. You can see how corroded it was on the inside. Yeah, such a funny thing because I was basically ready to give up and just run a short post. But yeah, so stoked that it finally came out. I was like beaming for days. I couldn't believe it. I still feel endorphins thinking about it now. Yeah, it was such a mission, but it feels so good just to win.
Hell yeah. Can't believe I did it. Wow, look at that. Crazy. The length of the post, you can see why it's such a hassle, because it's so damn long. Alright, now I can clean up the frame, There's a few like scratches and stuff here and there, but I'm gonna try to get it off best I can. And yeah, we'll see how it cleans up. Seat posts, I think I'm just gonna sand around and then sand it inside, and then just spray stuff in there to protect it, but not too damaged overall. I think this is spread out just a tiny bit, but I'll be able to kind of bend it back and put the seat clamp back on there. And then also these things are kind of filled up too, so I'm going to poke those out with the spoke. But yeah, let's clean this up.
So yeah, would I recommend cutting out a seat post? I definitely wouldn't. It just takes so long, and yeah, it's super hard. Only if you have a frame that you really like. I would say though, if your post was shorter, or if you had a post that wasn't so far in, it would be way easier. I feel like this is an extreme case scenario where the post was slammed and seized in there. Yeah, it's definitely a bit crazy, but yeah, if you want a crazy challenge, then this is a good challenge. Yeah, it seems like everything with this frame was just super hard. Even, yeah, everything. I feel like taking everything off and the seat post, everything was at a level 10 max pain. But yeah, sometimes bikes go this way. Hopefully the rest of the build goes pretty easily, but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, here I'm just kind of like cleaning up the frame, WD-40, using foil on the rusted parts. I'm not going to get all the rust off, of course. This is just going to be kind of like a wrap bike, and just put it together, try and clean it up as best I can. I do, kind of like the frame as it is, pretty beat up anyway, so I'm not too fussed about it. Here I'm just cleaning up the top of the seat tube where I probably bent it out a little bit and sanded it down, or like cut the inside a little bit, so I gotta sand everything down and make it clean. And I'm just using this Muck Off 94 spray. I think this is like a replacement for WD-40, but they just don't want to say it. But yeah, this is what it looks like inside a tube after I cleaned it. The spray basically just disperse water, I think, and gives it a clean. I think it smells a little bit like brake cleaner as well, so maybe it has brake cleaner in there. But then yeah, here just getting the cups out. Just shout out to Darren for donating this tool. But yeah, you just basically pop it in until it clicks, and then you just tap it out, and then you can hold your hand with the cups to save the cups from flying off. In the past I kind of just popped them out everywhere, but I want to save these cups, so I put my hand there this time. But yeah, I will say getting the cups out was pretty easy.
Alright, here's the frame all done. Pretty sweet, I think. I think most people probably think it's a POS, but I like it, so that's all that matters. And super cool here. Love the Kona logo on the bottom as well. Super sick. Alright, just spraying this on the inside of the tubes just to protect it a little bit. Don't think it actually does much, but I think it's kind of like WD-40 but slightly different. But yeah, gonna spray some of this in there, and hopefully that protects the frame a little bit, but yeah, not sure.
Yeah, I figure something is better than nothing. And then here, just putting the seat collar back on. You can see because I bent it out a little bit, I had to bend it back together. So basically I just used an old tube and squeezed it with the clamp. Just go a little bit by a little bit at a time, and then did a little bit of filing on the top just to get rid of the burrs, make it a little bit easier to put the seat collar in. And then yeah, a little bit of sandpaper, and then a little bit of grease to help it go on. And yeah, after I got close, it snapped in pretty nice. Yeah, just like that. And push it down all the way. Here I'm just using a bolt because I don't have a quick release. It's just, yeah, you got to use 2 bolts to undo it. So it's kind of good theft deterrent as well. You need 2 tools. But yeah, I'm pretty sure no one's taken this bike, just the way it looks. And then here, cleaning the Sonic stem, classic Sonic stem. Yeah, just giving it a clean once over, using WD-40, using this little seal pick tool. Shout out Boot Bike. It's plastic and it can get in all the crevices, so it works pretty well. And I use just a nylon brush and water and detergent spray. And then here, just spraying it with water, getting rid of all the rest of the dirt. And then you can see here's a little bit of paint that was on there before. You can kind of just scratch this paint off. I think you can also use T-Cut to get it off, but I end up just scratching it off with water and a paper towel, and that made it super clean. And then yeah, just cleaning all the bolts here one by one, giving a nice clean, looking pretty fresh. This cleaned up pretty well actually. I think it looks pretty cool. And then yeah, just putting grease in the threads here to make sure they don't seize up again. And then yeah, putting all the bolts in. And that's basically brand new, apart from a little bit of fading, I guess. Here, same thing, cleaning up the bars. I don't know if I'm going to use these bars, but may as well just clean it up anyway in case I use them for a different build. But yeah, just a little WD-40, and yeah, these are looking good as well. And yeah, I use water and detergent, of course. Old school Kona. Little burrs on the end, I just file those off as well, just to keep it from ripping your grips when you put them on. And then here, the little Kona stem cap. Pretty cool, just get it clean. Here I got these cranks. I got these cranks off eBay, and then the seller basically didn't tell me that they were loose. So I'm going to try and put these on since it's a rat build, maybe try to fix that out somehow. And yeah, just got to give them a quick clean first. I do want to replace the cranks in the future, probably Holotech 2, because they're just way stronger. I've kind of sheared off square taper ones going off jumps and stuff. But yeah, these clean up pretty well. Alright, so I have this same issue with these Shimano cranks where they don't fit the chainring on the inside. So, time to hacksaw it. Yeah, for some reason with these chain rings, I think Shimano made them so they only fit a certain way, or they fit only their chain rings. But easy fix is I just busted out the old hacksaw again, and then you just basically hacksaw down the little bits. You can see I'm running the FSA chainring on the inside because I want to run the bash guard on the outside. So yeah, after a bit of filing, you can see it fits on there. Pretty sweet. Some people say, oh, you can file the chainring as well, or rather the chainring, but I'd rather just file the crank. This way, every time I get a new chainring, I can just put it on. This is the old crank, just give it a clean. I want to take off the bash guard and run the bash guard. I think it's pretty cool. And then yeah, just loosening this off, getting rid of this. The bash guard was in pretty good condition actually for the rest of the condition of the bike. But yeah, looking nice and clean there. Again with the water and detergent, and then yeah, just put it on like this. Sometimes when you run a bash guard, you gotta run longer bolts. But for this one, it was fine. And then yeah, just screw those on. This is looking pretty good, I think. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. I'm going to try to fix a little bit of wobble, just try to help it a little bit. So an old school kind of tip is to kind of just punch on the inside. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Before I hammer, I also push this crank arm all the way forward, because most of the pressure is going to be pedaling forward like that. So that way when you hammer it, you're not going to be fighting
the stuff that you just did here.
So yeah, I'm just using the screwdriver I broke earlier.
Alright, I just hammered one and it seems to be working pretty well. So what I'm going to do is tap out all the other ones and then should be pretty good.
This is what it looks like after it's all done. It actually works pretty well. There's like maybe some very, very slight movement, but it's, yeah, way better than before. You can see the difference. Hard to show on camera. It's more of a feel thing, but you just have to take my word for it, I guess. And then running 2x on the front, a little bailout gear. Gonna test this out, see how it goes.
Alright, this is the BB I'm going to be putting on. This is 127 wide. It's probably a bit wider than I need, but I'll just put this one in just to test the cranks and we'll see. Here it is. Ideally you want it as close as you can to the chainstay. If you're running 1x, obviously it'll be different. I'm going to run 2 on this and then yeah, I'll put in the BB and see how it goes, and then you basically subtract or add what you need to get the right size.
And then just installing the BB here using this copper paste shout out boot bike. I decided to use copper paste because it's waterproof and it'll stop it from welding together. Taking no chances with this frame at this point, and then yeah, you just screw it in by hand and then tighten it with a wrench or whatever you have. And then yeah, I just did one side just to test it, test the length.
Alright, so you just dry fit the crank on and you can see how there's still a lot of room right here. So you basically just got to do your math. You got to take away a couple of millimeters for when you clamp it down here, when you squeeze it down. You could also squeeze it down here and take a look, but I couldn't be bothered taking it off again. So maybe it's like 2 mil on each side. So 127 take away 4 is 123. We'll just say 122, and then you got to measure this distance here, maybe another 5 mil after that. So it'll probably end up about 112 or 113, and that would be the right size BB. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this BB anyway, and once I get time for a new BB, I'll swap it out the BB.
And then here just putting the other cap on, other shell of the BB, using the copper paste again. For some reason this shell was a little tough to get in. I just made sure it wasn't cross-threading or anything, but yeah, it was just a tight fit. Luckily it's plastic, so it doesn't really matter. And then yeah, nice seal in there, and then yeah, a little grease on the tapers to put on the cranks to stop them from seizing up. And then yeah, just push it on, make sure it's nice and snug, as straight as you can, and then yeah, wind it down. Not too much to it. When you wind it down, you don't have to go crazy. Just do it until it doesn't move anymore, and then it should be good. And then here, same with the other side. Same method again, put it on, make sure your crank arms are the opposite way, otherwise you're going to have issues pedaling. And then yeah, same deal here, just make sure that nice and tight without going crazy.
So yeah, this is where it's ended up. You can see I can get a slightly shorter BB, but it's going to do for now. Sure. Alright, so I've decided I'm going to use the old headset just because I got a few forks that I want to put on that have short steerers, so this low stack headset should help. If this ends up not working well, I will just I'll just install the new one that I have. Here's the cups. You see there's a little bit of wear here on the inside race. No pitting though, so that's alright. And then here's the other one. I think this is the bottom one, looks like, or maybe that's the top. yeah, this is the bottom one, and then this is the top one. Seems like the top one has more wear than the bottom, so I'm going to keep it that way, keep the bottom one bottom. Some people, what they do is they run, once the bottom one wears out, they flip it on the headset like this, so to even out the bearings, but I don't know if it makes that much of a difference. You might see it on the internet every now and then where you get the flipped Chris King headsets, but yeah, I'll probably just run this one as is, maybe switch the bearings. I also got to take this crown race off, so let's check it out. So yeah, seems alright as well. You might have seen this before. Here's the tool I made to get rid of the headset. Just tap it out.
So yeah, the tool is just soft aluminum, and yeah, it's just aluminum flat from Bunnings, and I just file down an angle, and then you can wedge it in there, and that way you don't damage the fork or damage the crown race. And yeah, just tap it out all the way around. Take your time and it should come out. I think other people have used razor blades before, and that also helps. I also spray some of that spray in just to help loosen the dirt. But here, all the bearing pieces, all the headset pieces are out, and just going to give them a clean. Using that spray again. I'm basically testing the spray for this build, see if it works. Seems to be alright. I think the smell is a little bit strong for me compared to the low odor WD-40, but it's just what I had on hand at the moment, so I decided to, hey, why not use it? I have it, so may as well use it. And then here, just cleaning up all the bearings. Cleaned up pretty nicely, actually. Wasn't too bad. And then yeah, after that was done, the headset's ready to be installed. And here, just grease it up. Grease up both sides. I decided to just install one at a time just because I have a DIY tool. It can be a little bit fussy sometimes, but yeah, basically it's just a rod and a nut and a couple of flat washers from Bunnings, and you just try to line it as best you can and wind it down. For some reason it was super tight getting them on, but yeah, I got there at the end, wasn't too bad. You can see I had to put tons of pressure, and some of the aluminum came off the flat washer, or I think there was a stick on there, so it could have been that as well. And then yeah, same with the other side, just had to really muscle this in. I end up running the the cups opposite way, just upside down, just because I thought that would have been a little bit better. But yeah, this is what it looks like, looking pretty fresh. Alright, these are the forks I'm going to chuck on. These are Z1 BAMs. You might have seen them before. Not too bad, pretty good condition, I think. Just a few nicks here and there on the stanchions. The seals probably need replacing, but I'm just going to run them anyway. I haven't ran this because it's kind of got a short steerer, so it would be good to have it on the bike at least instead of just sitting around. So yeah, see how we go. Alright, just grease it up and yeah, put it on. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, this steerer is short. I can't remember what it was. I think it's like 185 or something like that, where I think 200, anything above 200 works a little bit better for the Kona head tubes, where they're a bit longer with the headset. But yeah, basically just grease everything up, put it in, and yeah, just make sure your bearings are facing the right way. You'll notice if you have them the wrong way, they won't rotate that smoothly. But yeah, just make sure you grease it up and chuck it on. But yeah, you can see already the steerer is quite short. I thought I would get a little bit more steerer because of the lower stack headset compared to the Chris King one that I have on my other Kona. But yeah, ended up not being that much. But yeah, you just end up putting this plastic tension thing on, tension part, and this is what it looks like. Alright, so after putting these on, they kind of fell off for some reason,
and I wasn't gaining that much steerer anyway that I thought with the smaller headset. So I decided I'm gonna chuck these on. I think these kind of match the frame a bit better since they have a bit of wear on them. Match up the frame a little bit. So yeah, we'll chuck on these and see how they go. Just want to show you this. This is the Kona chute is a small, I think, and then the Scab's a medium. Pretty close years wise, but yeah, I just want to show you kind of the geo. Basically the same. The Scab's got a longer TT. You can see it up front here. Longer TT, same head tube angle. I think same seat angle as well. It looks like pretty much the same chainstay length. It looks like the seat stay is a different angle just because a smaller size. Same with the down tube, slightly longer on the Scab. But yeah, I think they should ride pretty similar. And then the forks, of course, these are the same size forks, so 1-for-1 comparison. And one more thing, just weight-wise, the Scab, because it's chromo, it's about 1 kilo heavier than the chute. So I think the Scab's about 3 point something, and then the chute is 2 point something. All right, here it is. I think it looks a bit better. Feel good about it. Decided I'm gonna chuck these 24/7 bars on. I got these secondhand, but they have pretty good rise and they have pretty cool upsweep as well. Not super wide, but I think wide enough for me to feel pretty comfortable. Wider than the Kona bars that were on there. And then this is the stem I'm chucking on. This is a Black Spire stem, downhill stem, oversized, super chunky. Pretty cool, I think. Has a little graze on the top, which I think will match the bike as well. And then you kind of need a long steerer to run this, and I haven't had a fork with a long steerer, so yeah, now's my chance. And then to run the bars, I need to run a shim in there because this is 31.8, these are 25.4. So I'm just gonna put these shims in.
Super stoked I'm able to run this stem, this old school Black Spire stem. It's, yeah, beast of a stem, but I think it looks super sick. And then, yeah, just putting the bars in with the shims. Just try to line them up as in the middle as much as you can. I think the shims are a little bit shorter than the stem itself, but I just, yeah, try to line them up in the middle. And then you just do up the bolts in a kind of like a star pattern or a Z pattern. And I just try to align the bars, the front of the bars with the front of the head tube. But yeah, I think this is looking awesome. Super stoked with how these bars go with this stem. And has, yeah, has a little beaver on there as well.
Alright, this is the wheel set I'm running. Had these for a little bit. Just want to get them back on a bike. This is the perfect bike for it. Got some XT to Atom Labs to Minion 2.3s, 26 2.3s on the front. And then on the rear, we got an XT rear, Atom Labs again, and then I got a Larson TT 2.0. So kind of like a fake slope style setup. And then I'm gonna chuck some cogs on here. These are the cogs I'm gonna be running on there. So I got a 14T and a 17. So I got on the front 32 and 24. So I got a pretty mixed combo there. I think it should work all right. So ends up being maybe a 4-gear combination. And then I'm just gonna space them out on here. Just in the middle to the chain line. I'm just going to put them in the middle for now and see how they go, and then adjust if necessary. Alright, here it is. This cog actually has a little space on the inside built in, so it makes it a little bit thicker. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. I think that should be pretty good. We'll load on the bike. I'll just finger torque this so I can get it off if I need to. And it's pretty much in the middle, just eyeballed it. Alright, here it is. Seems pretty decent, I think. I will get the tape measure and see. Alright, from my eyeball, it seems like it just needs to go over a slight tad, maybe one spacer over, and that should be good. Alright, there we go. Alright, and for the derailleur, I'm using this one. You might have seen this one, it's a single speed. Just going to use the derailleur. It's got a spoke in there just to tension it out at the moment, but I'm going to actually change it back to a cable. I think the cable works a bit better, especially if you want to adjust it on the fly. And then the other thing is I basically just took out the spring in here, this little hack. You take the spring out and then you can use it as a single spring derailleur. You basically take the spring out of there and then you just use a little washer here. I'll show you how that works once I install it. Okay, now this is on here, and what you can see is this little screw hits on the back of the hanger right there to stop it from going forward. So if I push it, it goes all the way forward, and it's already set, but it stops it from hitting the top here. If you wind this in, it's gonna push it more away from the chainstay, and if this is all the way out, it's gonna hit the chainstay. Obviously you don't want that, so you just gotta set it so it doesn't hit the chainstay here. You can see it doesn't go any further. And then the derailleur is basically gonna go like that as a kind of single speed chain tensioner, but obviously I'm running a couple of cogs here and there.
So yeah, basically you just take out the old spoke and it just sits in there. The nipple kind of holds it on from slipping through. And then yeah, just make sure you put the bolt back in so don't lose it. And then here what you need to do is set the limit screws. So I just set it just past the cog on both sides. That way I can make sure that it's gonna switch to different gears. And here you can see how it works, similar to when you set a normal cassette. And then I need a little brake cable, gear cable I mean, but yeah, just from the old shifter, popped it out, and you just pop that through, and basically the little cable end slides into the barrel adjuster, and that stops it from slipping. Make sure you wind the barrel adjuster all the way in before you put the cable in. And then now when you turn the barrel adjuster, it's going to manually move the cog back or forward depending if you wind it in or out. And then to size the chain, it's going to end up looking like this. So it's going to put tons of tension on the chain. But yeah, I just need to clean up the chain first. This is an old chain that I kept. I think maybe off an old single speed as well. So just put in a little vapor rust. It was still decent condition, just a little surface rust on there. And then yeah, this was a little too soon, so I soaked it for a little bit more. And a little bit after that, I think this is the next day actually, ended up being pretty clean. So I just need to give this a wash. You can see one of the links actually turned black just because it was made of different material, but yeah, end up cleaning pretty well. Just using that spray again, give it a dry. Alright, so you can see this bit turned black just because it's a different finish. Then I got this little extra bit which I'm going to put on instead of the black bit, and it should end up working pretty well, I think. And then to size up the chain, what you want to do is put it around the biggest cog on the back and biggest cog on the front and just loop it around. Sometimes, depending on your gearing change, you might have to make your chain a little bit longer, but I decided to keep mine pretty tight because I didn't want too much chain slap. And I think if worst comes to worst, I can just change through the gears manually. But yeah, here just putting the link on, just make sure it's flexible on both sides, doesn't pinch. And then here, chucking on, yeah, you can see here the link is priced slightly too long, so I decided to take a link out, and this is what it looks like after I took the link out. And yeah, just line it up a couple of turns and you can see it's working sweet. And then this is how you change the gears. You basically, on the front, you can just push on it a little bit and it should kind of just slip on from the big to the small, and that's on. Pretty simple. Just, watch your fingers, don't do it too fast, and you should be good. I've also seen people do this when they're riding. They just put their toe in and it changes. And then here it is just from the other angle. Yeah, just push it slightly and it just drops in. You might be thinking that it's easy to do on a stand when you got a stand going around, but it'd be hard when you're out riding. But basically, for the front chain rings, what you do is you rotate the wheel the opposite way and then put your finger at the bottom of the chainstay, and that will do it. And then here's how you change the back. You just wind it in and it changes, and then to change it back up, you just wind it out all the way until it feels like it doesn't go anymore because the chain's stopping it, but then it'll click up. And then you might be asking again, how do you do this when you're out riding? So you just remember how many turns you need to turn, and then just lift the wheel up, and then it'll kind of like switch up. So yeah, pretty easy. Probably harder to explain how to do it than actually doing it. So yeah, last time when I posted this, people got a lot of comments. People didn't really understand why you would do it. Just run a cassette. But basically the idea is to run a bike like a single speed, but have the options of having a few gears. So for example, riding up a hill to the dirt jumps and then having a different gear for the jumps itself. If you really don't understand it, I would suggest trying it. You can't understand everything by just watching. Alright, so we got this super cool SDG saddle. At least I think it's cool. I think it has a cool shape to it. And what I'm going to do is try to fix it up or try to restore it somehow. And yeah, first thing you got to do is just take off all these bolts. These are just kind of screwed into plastic, so just be careful when you take them out. And you can see this little plastic bit comes straight off. So I'm going to give that a clean as well. And then same with the front. Once you unscrew it, the plastic bit comes off. You can see again with this bike, there's so many like spider webs and just like little holes or little bug remnants in there that I had to clean out. I'm pretty sure this bike has been sitting around for ages. But yeah, the next thing to do is to take a screwdriver and just pop out all the little staples, because I'm going to take the wrap off. And yeah, you might need some pliers. I use a combination of pliers and a screwdriver just to wedge it out a little bit, and then use the pliers to pull it out. But yeah, basically just go all the way around and pull them out. Ends up being a lot of staples. But yeah, just do it one by one. And then I think, yeah, this was the last one. And then start pulling the wrap off. You can see with the spider homes in there. I think that's what they are. I'm not sure. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments. But yeah, you can see here the wrap's being glued on, and seems like the stitching got stuck on there as well. But yeah, just peel it slowly so to make sure not to rip the foam or minimize the ripping on the foam. But yeah, you can see it was pretty gross in there, pretty dirty. But yeah, just make sure you go slow here, because you don't want to rip any of the foam. But yeah, eventually it came all off, and you can see the thread's still there. This is what it looks like after everything's off. You can still see some of the glue still on there, And what I'm going to do is just give this a clean. This is the old wrap. I'm just going to keep it so I can use it as a die or a template for the new piece of material. And then with the glue on the seat sponge itself, you can kind of just like rub it and it'll come off. And then for the bottom, I use that spray again just to clean it up. And that end up cleaning all the sticky residue, old glue bits off pretty well. Give these plastic bits a bit of a wash, get rid of all the dirt. There was dirt inside the plastic bits, so you can imagine, yeah, pretty crazy how dirt can get in there as well. Must be spray up from the back of the tire or something. But these are looking pretty clean. Alright, so I was able to find this at Vinnie's. It was $2. Vinnie's is just like an op shop or second-hand store. But yeah, I think the pattern will be quite cool on it. It does have a fatter pattern or a thick, more dense pattern on the sides, and it kind of like thins out on the top. So I just got to see how it's going to fit over there, but it looks like it's going to just fit. The other thing is, when I looked at it, it stretches sideways like this way, but it doesn't really stretch that way. It's pretty dirty, so I'm going to unstitch it and give it a wash and then see how I go. So yeah, here you can see the stretch. It goes this way but doesn't go the other way, so that really determines which way you put it onto your bike seat. But yeah, it should work pretty well. You can see it's pretty dirty, tons of hair on here, and then I just end up cutting off this suede layer, and then there was like another liner layer inside, and then there was another black layer. So there was tons of layers on there for some reason, maybe just to keep the dog warm. But yeah, I was eventually able to get it off, and you can see the pattern here. There's a little bit more of a denser pattern on the side, and then not as dense in the middle. So I decided to just run it in the middle. I think that was probably the best bet. And then yeah, just give it a clean. Alright, this is pretty much clean. There is like little hairs on here, you probably can't see it, just like pet hair, so I'm gonna have to put tape over it just to get all of it off. Now I'm gonna just cut it up to shape and glue it on. Yeah, in hindsight, it's quite easy just to get new material because of it takes more effort to clean all the hair off. But when you're cutting it, basically what you want to do is cut about an inch or two wider out from the die, because the die or the old saddle has kind of shrunk, I think. So you just want to make sure you have enough material. You don't want to go too short, otherwise you have to find some new material. And then the method that I used is, I didn't use any glue. I decided just to kind of dry fit it for now, and I can use some fabric glue if this works out. So I just stapled at one end and stapled that other end, pulling tight on the fabric. So kind of just 4 areas I put it on just to kind of hold it in there, and I started working from the nose of the saddle to make it nice and tight, and just try not to have any creases or anything. With getting the staples in the areas where the staple gun couldn't fit in, I had to just put the staple there and then use pliers just to squeeze it into the plastic. It was a little bit fiddly, this area or this part, but it ended up working pretty well, and it held the fabric on there pretty good. And then as I was doing it, I thought, oh, maybe I should chuck some glue in, but I was kind of so far that I thought that I could maybe just do the whole thing without glue. And yeah, that's basically what I did. Just work side by side, each little bit, just from the nose and up towards the back of the seat, doing it each side at a time. So I did one side and then I pulled on the other side, and then just went alternating up each side, stapled with the staple gun as I went, or the manual staple. And then you just do that all the way around until you get to the end. It is a little bit fiddly trying to get all the creases out, but if you just keep pulling on it and just take your time, you'll be able to work out where it needs to kind of bunch up for it to have less puckering or less crease. But yeah, this is basically done. I was pretty stoked on this. It worked out pretty well. Like the fabric had a little bit of stretch in it, so it's quite forgiving, and then also the pattern itself made it quite forgiving as well. You can't really see all the imperfections. And now that was done, I can chuck the other two plastic things back on. And the plastic things are actually really good because they help hold down the fabric as well. And yeah, it was good to do with these seats. You can see when I put the black back one on, the little fabric stuck out, so I decided just to give it a cut, give it a trim, just to be a little bit closer to the staples, and then I was able to put this plastic bit on without the fur sticking out. And then yeah, just screw it in, take your time, and yeah, this is what it looks like. Overall, I think pretty sick. I was pretty stoked at this point. There's still tons of hair on it, so I got to clean that up. But I think it's looking pretty good. And then to clean the hair, I just used just tape, backed it up upon itself, and just went all over the saddle, and that seemed to pick up most of the hair.
All right, here it is. Super psyched with how this turned out. I think it looks awesome. You know, you got a little bit on the bottom here, but doesn't look too bad, I don't think. Looks pretty cool. And yeah, pretty neat all around. Not too much puckering. And yeah, psyched to put this on. Shoo! These are the staples. Alright, this is a long time coming, but I decided to run a shim 27.0 to 25.4. I think that's going to help it, since the inside of that, it's alright, but I think this will make it super smooth, and then I can run a more standard size seat post.
Yeah, it was actually really hard to find a 27.0 seat post that I liked. So yeah, I decided to order this shim from Amazon, and yeah, does kind of two jobs. One, it makes it slide in pretty good, and I don't have to clean up the inside of the seat tube too cleanly. But yeah, worked pretty well. And then just make sure you grease it up, both things, seat post and the seat post collar, or the seat post shim. Just make sure you line up the gap of the seat post shim with the gap in the frame. And then yeah, just slowly sliding in. I'm putting my finger there to make sure that gap stays where it is. And then yeah, that worked well. I also already had a 25.4 seat post, so that made it a bit easier. Also, I've always wanted to, for like a dirt jump bike, I've always wanted to try a pivotal seat post as well, so I can run pivotal seats. But for now, I think this is pretty good. Nice and clean in there. Pretty happy with how the seat post and how this worked out. And then here, just chucking the seat on. Not too much to it. Just unwind the bolts, and then you just slide it in. Pretty simple compared to other stuff. And then I think you just wind it up to the angle that you like. I have my seat tilted a little bit back because for this one I'm going to run it a little bit low. And yeah, you kind of sit back a little bit on it because the seat's lower. But yeah, looking pretty cool. And then here, just cleaning up the brakes. Decided just going to clean up the brake with brake cleaner, running this Avid DBBB, I think it's called. I think it just stands for ball bearing or something like that. Disc brake ball bearing. But yeah, just basically giving it clean. I'm just going to run a single brake so I can do bar spins. And yeah, just using the old brake off the bike, and I just want to give it a clean up. It was kind of hard to take these pads out, but I realized you need to use a pair of pliers so you can kind of get more leverage in the bottom of the pad. And then yeah, you basically just pull it out, and there's a little spring inside holding the pads together. And yeah, you can see even inside the spring here, or inside the shell of the caliper, there's like little bug bits in there, so even a bug went in there to make its home. Pretty crazy. Yeah, this seems like the theme of this this bike. But yeah, just use brake cleaner to clean the pads, clean the caliper. Make sure you try not to get oil on the pads or they'll squeak. At this point, I didn't have too much hopes that it wouldn't squeak, just because the bike's been sitting around for so long. Maybe the pads are probably contaminated anyway. But yeah, you know, just clean up best you can with paper towel. Don't get your fingers on there. And then I decided to soak the rest of the bolts in a vapor rust just to give them a quick once over. Just soak these overnight. And then I'm also using this old school Avid brake lever SD 1.9. Pretty cool, has an adjustable knob at the top, and I think because it's so battered, it'll suit the rest of this bike as well. But yeah, just a right-handed brake. Give that a soak, and then yeah, you can see this is how the spring goes on the pads. Just one on each side. The little tab goes in between the little feet of the brake pad, and then you just squeeze and push it in. It might seem like it doesn't go any further, but once you hear a click and push it all the way in, it should kind of click in. And then yeah, just using the pliers to help it get in there a little bit better. Just like this. And that was in. So the caliper's looking pretty good. I was going to do a full rebuild on the caliper, but this video is so long already, I decided just to do it quick. Maybe in the future. Here's all the stuff coming out, super clean. Pretty sweet. Give it a wash, give it a clean, spray it with the spray to give it a little bit of protection after you put in the vapor rust to stop it from flash rusting. Give it a little bit of wipe down, and yeah, a little bit of protection. And this is looking good. Time to install the brake. Putting on the little brake mount. This is I'm running a 160 caliper on the back, or 160 disc rotor. So yeah, I think this is what came with the bike anyway, so that made things pretty easy. And then you just put these concave washers in, make sure they're facing the right way so you can allow for adjustment. I just put it in loose for now, and then once I get the rotor on, I'll be able to fully align the brake. Yeah, but that's looking pretty good. And then don't forget these little plastic things as well, little housing covers. You can see there's a little metal bit in there. But yeah, put those on so don't forget when you're cabling up, and then just put the retaining bolt back on for the cable, and that was good to go. So yeah, I just wanted to show you just taking out the wheel with this setup. It can be a little bit difficult, so if you don't want to use a tool, what you need to do is just pull on the derailleur and then just unhook the chain. And then when I put it back on, it was easier just to undo it half turn, because we took out that spring. Now it doesn't pivot, so it can make it a little bit hard. But yeah, if you just undo the derailleur half turn, you can rotate it up and then just put the wheel back in normally. I also did unhook the chain from the front chain rings to make it a little bit easier. And then after you put the chain back on, don't forget to tighten up the derailleur, and that was it. The rotor was on. Now putting on the brake lever, slides on. Not too much here. Just make sure it's an angle that you like and position you like for your grips. I think that's looking pretty good. I decided to run a super long brake cable, almost the full length brake cable, just so I could bar spin it a few times and I won't have to worry about the cable. But yeah, you just put the cable in like that, and then with the barrel adjuster, it makes it easy to slide in. And then here, just measuring the housing. Funny enough, this frame doesn't have any mounts for like a disc cable. It was all canty, even the ones underneath the frame that were made for V-brakes. But I decided to run the full housing, that way I won't get dirt or anything in there. Here, just putting a couple of drops of oil or lube, waterproof lube, chain lube, I think it is, in the cable. to make it super slippery. And then, yeah, just slide in the housing into the brake, put the brake cable in, and then a little tip is I just push it up with my thumb a little bit just to take out some of the slack, and then yeah, just tighten it, and that should work out. Of course, you know, you just test it with your brake lever to make sure the brake is working. And what you also need to do is, if you're doing bar spins, you need to rotate the bars around so the cable goes around, and make sure the brake is working at every position, because as you rotate the bar around, it's going to put more pressure on the cable, and it's going to have a different brake feel depending on how many times it's looped around the headset. And then here, just putting on this stem cap. Shout out Bone Shaker mountain bike, pretty sick stem cap. Stoked on that, putting that on. I have one on my other bike too, pretty funny. But here you can see rotating it, and I'm working out where I should tie up this brake cable. And I decided to run it on the down tube. I saw some BMX bikes actually have mounts for it on the down tube, and I thought that would work pretty well, just because it has a smoother action for the cable going up towards the bars. I don't know if it's too much of a difference, but yeah, that's what I decided to do anyway. And then here, just lubing up the chain. Almost forgot. Smooth lube wax chain from Boot Bike, and a little bit of copper grease in the pedals. Chuck the pedals on. I install the pedals I'm putting on is the stamp ones. They're just like light, and I like them, and yeah, they were pretty scratched up, so no issues there. And then just using this Equip pedal wrench. Shout out Equip. Pretty cool, pretty fun to use, nicely made. Can get a nice leverage on it as well. And that's one pedal, and another pedal, same deal, just put it on. Probably know how to put on pedals by now. And then the last thing to do was to put on grips, and that's basically it. Alright, I think the bike came out super sick. I'm super stoked with how it turned out. All the parts and stuff just came together real nice, I think, and it matches the bike. Super fun to ride. I'm happy it has all those gears as well. If you made it this far, I just want to say congratulations. It wasn't a short video by any means. Hopefully you liked it. Thanks everyone for the support. There's new hats in the store, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. Peace.